Viewer discretion is advised for this educational documentary.
I always knew there's evil on earth. An evil devil person hurt my sister, took her life from us.
This is the enraging case of Sabrina Harooni. Our love and respect goes out to all those that knew and loved Sabrina and all those affected by this case. Sabrina Harooni was born on the 27th of October 1997. Growing up in Gilbertsville, Sabrina was known by all for her kind heart and infectious smile. Her older sister Maryam described her as a gem, saying, "She was the heart of the family, she was the baby." But the baby of the family was growing up quickly and she had goals of earning her business degree. Sabrina had big plans for the future. Many of these plans included her boyfriend Nicholas Foreman, a 23-year-old from Collegeville. She'd been dating Nicholas for around 7 months and she often stayed with him a few times a week at his rented room on Hamilton Road. She hadn't told her family about him yet, not even her sister. This was her little secret. It was the 3rd of February 2020, the day after the Super Bowl. It was a cold day in Pennsylvania. At Pottstown Hospital, an Uber speeds towards the emergency room. In the back of the car, Sabrina Harooni is unconscious. She is no longer breathing. Her boyfriend Nicholas holds her as she battles with life-threatening injuries. Sabrina is suffering from respiratory and cardiac arrest. She has bruising on her face and on her neck. There is dried blood coming from her nose. Her body is cold. The medical staff try frantically for nearly 2 hours to resuscitate her, but it's too late. Brenna Coyle was one of the nurses. She said, "We never had a pulse. She was never conscious in the emergency room." Sabrina Harooni, the baby of the family and a 22-year-old with her whole life to live, now was no longer alive. The police were called to the hospital straight away.
Sabrina Harooni, you will never be forgotten. It's a feeling like somebody took your heart out and just threw it away. I would do anything to go back and see her just one more time. She was the heart of our family. She was the baby, our angel. Your precious soul will live on until the end of time.
The victim was cold to the touch with blue lips and not breathing. County Detective John Wittenberger and State Police Trooper Richard W. Sanzik Jr. wrote in the arrest affidavit. Doctors told detectives Sabrina's body temperature was no more than 79 degrees and her pupils were blown out. The condition and injuries were consistent with a severe assault. Sabrina had been beaten, but the question was, by who? The police questioned boyfriend Nicholas Foreman. He was the last person to see her alive. After all, he had brought her into the hospital, so he must have had the answers. Nicholas told the Pottstown police that he and Sabrina had gone to the PJ Wellahans pub in Oaks on the 2nd of February. They'd gone to watch the Super Bowl. He said they'd been having a great time and were both in good spirits. At least they were, until Sabrina got into a verbal altercation with 3 females at the pub. There was arguing, there was shouting. Ultimately, Nicholas and Sabrina left to get an Uber home to his Perkiomen residence on Hamilton Road. But to their dismay, the 3 girls from the pub followed them there. They then jumped Sabrina. It was 3-on-1. Sabrina was badly beaten. Nicholas, though, said he was helpless. He couldn't get involved in the fight as he was already on probation for driving under the influence and resisting arrest. Nicholas also had past charges of disorderly conduct, criminal trespass and harassment in 2014. Therefore, if he got involved, things could get really bad for him. So he just watched on. After the fight with the 3 women was over, he carried Sabrina inside. She was injured, but she was still breathing. He checked on her until he fell asleep. At around 8:45 AM the next morning, Nicholas took an Uber to Limerick District Court. He had a preliminary court hearing for felony illicit substance charges. When he got back, he checked again on Sabrina. He tried to wake her up, but she wasn't coming round. For the second time that morning, he ordered an Uber. This time, he bundled his girlfriend's battered body into the back of the car and headed to the Pottstown Memorial Hospital. It was only a short drive and she was still breathing when they left. However, we know that she wouldn't be breathing for long. That was Nicholas's story, but something wasn't right. Nicholas wasn't worried about his girlfriend. In fact, he wasn't concerned at all after they arrived at the hospital. He was calm, he was just explaining how what he saw had happened. A Pottstown policeman explained, describing Nicholas's demeanour at the hospital. Nicholas never asked about Sabrina's condition either. He didn't ask about his girlfriend, who had been beaten to within an inch of her life. In fact, he seemed to forget that she'd been jumped at all. At some point, the story he was giving wasn't matching the information we were getting, explained the same police officer. But even when detectives pressed Foreman about whether he was telling the truth, he said, 100%. Nicholas Foreman sent several Instagram messages to others in the days that followed. She got jumped by 3 girls really badly and she died before I could get her to the hospital, Foreman wrote in one message. He was sticking to his story. They began to look for the group of girls who had jumped Sabrina. Pretty quickly though, authorities realised these females didn't actually exist. Video surveillance footage from PJ Wellahan's pub showed no evidence of Sabrina ever having an altercation with 3 women. In fact, the CCTV showed no evidence of Sabrina getting into an altercation with anyone at all. It actually showed a happy couple having a nice date night. There was nothing out of the ordinary. They were really happy, they were polite, they were smiling, seemed like a happy couple, described Ashley Nicole Pearson, their server. This whole thing just didn't make sense. The police began to explore other options. All eyes turned to the boyfriend. Nicholas was acting strange. He was the last to see her. He also had previous convictions. Police then seized his cell phone as part of the investigation. No one anticipated what they would find. It broke this case wide open. Detectives uncovered a 13-second video recording on his cell phone. The video was of Sabrina with blood on her face, lying on the grass area outside of Nicholas's residence. In the recording, a male voice is heard stating, "This is what a cheating liar gets. You hear me? Cheating liar." 3 days after Sabrina's death, Nicholas was arrested. On Thursday the 6th of February 2020, he was charged with 1st and 3rd degree murder. Upon arrest, he acted as though he was in disbelief. Continuing to peddle his story about the fight, he angrily told reporters,
Didn't do it.
Why did you do it?
Didn't do it.
Who did?
3 girls. Not me.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
But no one believed him. Very quickly, the police had pieced together what really happened on that fateful night. After watching the Super Bowl at PJ Wellahan's bar, the couple took an Uber home. In the car, Sabrina made a reference to receiving a text message from an ex-boyfriend. It was just a joke, a passing remark, but it irked Nicholas, who became increasingly agitated. Nicholas Foreman was jealous. He was angry. The thought of Sabrina texting an ex-boyfriend to him was completely unbearable. He demanded to see her phone. He wanted to see the text. She just tried to dismiss it. She kept trying to dismiss it, explained the Uber driver. When Sabrina refused, Nicholas told her that she couldn't come home with him until she showed him the phone. Sabrina didn't know how to respond, telling him to cut it out, you're scaring me, as he got angrier and more irate. The Uber arrived at Nicholas's place and the two got out, but Nicholas wasn't ready to let it go just yet. They continued to argue in the driveway. The Uber driver was concerned and hung around. There was yelling in the driveway and maybe a flailing of the arms, and there was arguing going on. I heard the sound of something breaking, the Uber driver explained. Not wanting to leave, he pulled over and waited 10 minutes or so until the shouting stopped. And it did. So the Uber driver left. But for Sabrina, the nightmare was only just beginning. After the argument, Nicholas Foreman attacked Sabrina. It wasn't a group of women, she was jumped by her own boyfriend. A witness named Brady Reese said that he had seen Sabrina stumbling and appearing to say help, but Nicholas insisted that she was just drunk. He said Sabrina gave a thumbs up and the two walked away. Nicholas continued a sustained attack before ending her life as she lay helpless on the grass. The autopsy determined that Sabrina passed from asphyxia, strangulation, and multiple blunt force injuries. As she lay motionless, he used his cell phone to take the video that was key to his arrest. He then dragged her body into his home, leaving marks across the yard. Her bracelet, plastic beaded letters that spelt out Sabrina, was found in the yard. The evidence was damning. Nicholas's vital fluids was found on Sabrina's denim jacket and Sabrina's was found on his. He didn't cover his tracks, not at all. In fact, in an act that showed his coldness and contempt for Sabrina, after dragging her inside, Nicholas went outside and sat in the car of an ex-girlfriend. Meanwhile, Sabrina Harooni fought for her life just meters away inside his home. If she had received medical attention straight away, there is a chance that she may have survived. But instead of taking her to the hospital, he sat with another woman for an hour. They talked, they kissed. Nicholas posted on Snapchat. He then went inside and went to sleep. He seemingly never even considered getting help for Sabrina.
I had never heard of his name until we heard that he was arrested.
It's just sad, man. You know, a young kid like that, and you know, so brutal. It's like, why?
On the 19th of August 2021, Nicholas Foreman went on trial at Montgomery County Court. He was tried for first and third degree murder. First degree, which was intentional, carries a sentence of life imprisonment. Third degree, which is an attack without intent, is 20 to 40 years in prison. The prosecutors argued that Nicholas had many chances to get help for Sabrina, but didn't. This is a specific intent to kill in this case because he did not seek medical treatment for her. Instead, he hid her away so nobody could help her. The words of DA Kevin Steele, and he continued. Each of these acts that put her in that condition is a deliberate act. Hitting, compression, choking, all deliberate actions.
Sabrina's not here to tell us the truth. And they're taking what this monster said and spreading it. And I just ask for respect of Sabrina. She was an angel on earth, and now she's an angel for us, watching over us. Your light will never be dimmed until we meet again.
Defense lawyer Michael A. John sought a mistrial due to emotional outbursts in court. As the key cell phone footage was played in the court, Sabrina's mother, Rabia, had shouted, "How could you do that to my baby?" But the mistrial was denied by Judge William R. Carpenter. The judge simply cautioned jurors not to let their emotions or sympathy impact their deliberations. But they didn't need their emotions or sympathy to make the right decision. The evidence here said it all. The jury took just 90 minutes to come to a decision. They found him guilty of first-degree murder. He asked to be sentenced immediately. On August 19th, 2021, Nicholas Foreman was sentenced to life in prison. Do you think the punishment fits the crime here? What do you think could be done to avoid something like this happening again in the future? Let me know down in the comments. Please do hit like if you appreciate what I'm doing here. Thank you to everyone in the Dark Case crew. You too can become a channel member for just 99 pence. A huge thank you to my patrons. Your support makes a massive difference. You too can support my work and be thanked in every video for just $5 per month. The link is below. So a huge thank you to Rachel David, Kathy Green, David James, Addy Alexander, Karen Jones, El Palmieri, James Harrington, Shane Woodward, Faster River, Stacey Krogerus, Summer Chambers, Mona Corona, Cepheid Variable, Anthony Watson, Jason Coward, Guardian Paler, Jeremy Sebranek, and Darlene. Be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.